Nenning, Vanderleest are present. Mr. Weary, I believe, is excused. Number 1, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on October 25th, 2017.
I move to approve the minutes.
Motion by Nenning to approve the minutes, second by Vanderleest. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Vanderleest to approve the agenda, second by Nenning. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 3, consideration of possible action request by Paul Nija for an additional overnight parking exemptions at 1064 Roscoe Street, held over October 25th, 2017. Improvement Services Committee. Director Grenier, do you want to help us out with this? Start it out?
Start out.
Thank you.
October 3rd, we received, October 3rd, Mr. Nija contacted Alderman Weary indicating that he received a warning notice from the city concerning calling in for overnight parking. Calls that we have made for overnight parking were not vehicles that reside at his location. They were friends visiting and staying overnight. Alderman Weary indicated that he would need to apply for extra exemptions. Further correspondence between petitioner and Alderman Weary indicates that petitioner's daughters have friends she plays basketball with from other schools who sleep here and drive here and sleep over. Then Alderman Weary contacted traffic engineer and asked for this to go forward and be put on the next agenda. We've had some opportunities where petitioner hasn't been able to make the INS meeting, and I believe this is the first meeting that he has been able to actually come to, so this is the meeting we've got it scheduled for. Okay. So just in recap, we do allow, I believe it's up to, we allow up to 6 opportunities on an annual basis for folks to request on-street overnight parking in front of their residential properties. There's a number of reasons why we have the prohibition against on-street parking in between 3 and 5 a.m. Under extenuating circumstances, people are able to petition the Improvement Service Committee for some additional on-street parking exemptions, so that's why the petitioner is here tonight.
I move to suspend the rules to hear from interested parties.
Motion by Nenning to suspend the rules for interested parties. Do I hear a second?
Second.
By Vanderleest. Under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay. The rules are suspended for interested parties. Anybody wants to talk after Mr. Nija? Nija, just raise your hand and I'll recognize you. You have the floor.
Basically, it comes down to I don't have room. We have 3 vehicles now, and as the petition said, or as I explained to Mr. Weary, Alderman Weary, that I have 2 teenage daughters, a lot of friends that come over, and they come from all different areas. My daughters play basketball with girls from all different schools in AAU basketball. Those are the main people that are taking up those parking exemptions and staying by us. And it's mostly on the weekends when my wife nor myself are working. So if it was during the week, I'd be working at night and there'd be an extra parking spot, but it's on the weekends usually. So 2 teenage daughters, you know, I want to allow them to assemble with their friends and not tell them that their friends can't be here, can't stay. So you know, basically, I'm in a situation where I got no place to put them. So I'd like to have some more parking as much as
How many nights are you requesting here? A month, 2 months, 1 day, 2 days? Because if we're going to approve this, if we have to approve this, we're going to have some numbered days, correct, Steve? So, and that's going to come on your behalf. You're going to have to help us out with that. That's my question. So,
Are you looking for a total, or are you
Yeah.
looking for just some, like, so many
Steve,
per
you're gonna be
month,
looking for
or-
specific dates, correct?
Not specific dates, what we need is a total number of exemptions for a calendar year that he'd be requesting.
Okay.
You still have to call in.
One second.
Correct.
Question, I mean, wouldn't you want specific dates?
No, because then if he has 12 events, then he can use those 12 events. He has to call in each time he wants to utilize.
Okay, he's gonna have to
Yep.
call it in, then he will specifically
Then
give
he
the
will
date.
say what
Okay.
dates, correct.
Yeah, that was
Now,
my.
with that,
Oh, okay.
each event can be up to 2 weeks in length, but it can't be interrupted. So if he has visitors coming in for a weekend, and he calls in and says, I need on-street for Friday and Saturday, because that's contiguous, that's considered one event, not two.
Okay.
Okay? But if he calls in and says, I'm gonna have somebody Friday and Saturday of this week, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the next week, even though that's within a 2-week time span, it's not contiguous, so that would be 2 events. But the 3-day event and the 2-day event, because they are contiguous, would each be considered a single event.
Okay.
Make sense?
Now, is that,
Alderman Nenning, do you have a question?
No, I'd like to hear.
Okay.
question I had was, now, does that, the allotment that I was allowed, is that a calendar year? Does it start over on the first of the year? How does that go?
Yes, they
Okay.
are calendar year allotments, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So basically till August of next year I'm looking at right now, where. 'cause
No,
that's
no,
when most of those
you're in the 2017.
Oh, in
so-
2018 it'll renew.
Right,
Okay.
in January 2017, we clear the slate, you get 6.
But it'll be 6.
Yep.
Probably an additional 12 would help.
Okay, so you're looking for a total of 18.
So I have 2 teenage daughters, so a lot of friends coming in and out.
Any questions from the committee? Any concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
One other question I would have then, would the event, let's say there's 2 vehicles the same night, is that one event or
Yes.
is it 2?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, how much have we granted in the past?
We have extended an additional 10. I know that for a fact. I'm not sure how many more beyond that we've done. But I know 10 has definitely been awarded in the past.
Any concerns, Dave?
No, are you using all 6 of the occasions that you have right now? Are you calling in? or-
Yeah, we always call in.
Okay.
I was not aware that there was a limitation to the call-in. I mean, I understand if I'm calling every day,
Right.
but I thought, calling in on a weekend here and there, whatever, I didn't realize there was an issue. We had a short span where we had several girls
Yeah.
come and stay over a few weeks.
Yeah.
So they burned them up without me knowing.
Some of
there
the
was an issue.
concerns that our committee has had in the past, deal with things like in the winter and there's snow removal.
Winter, I
issues,
understand.
or-
I have no issue whatsoever. If it's a winter issue, there's,
Yeah.
if we can't make it work, we can't make it
Or
work.
things like leaf collection
Right.
or garbage collection, where cars on the street may interfere with the provision of city services, that sort of thing, so. I think that what we've done in the past is that you have to come in every year to make a request, or do we just grant it?
No, what we have done is we have granted it for 2018, then if the petitioner would request for 2019, about this time next year, he'd have to come in and ask for it because the situation may change. Again, this particular petitioner has indicated he has 2 teenage daughters. I have a teenage daughter, but she's a senior in high school, and by this time next year, she will be going off to college, so my situation has changed. We don't want to leave that blanket exemption out there when it's no longer necessary.
I guess what I would request, if possible, with the holiday coming up here, if some of those could be allotted for the
So
holiday
you'd be
season.
looking for some additional here and then also
Like during
a total of
Christmas
8
break, right?
A total of 18 for next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of mine is going off to college next year, so.
Okay. Well, if we've granted up to 10 in the past, I'll make a motion to grant an additional 10. With the provision that we talked about here, that you have to call in and...
Let's close the floor first, please.
Okay. Move to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor by Nenning, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Here none, all in favor. Before we vote on that, Alderman Steuer wanted to mention something.
Thank you, Chair. Let's say you have 3 or 4 cars parked, is that considered one event?
Yes.
3 cars? Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. All right, thank you. So-
And they do have to be in front of your property, if I
Right.
remember
Yes.
correctly. right?
Yes.
So,
All in favor to close the floor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, we are in regular order of business. What are the wishes of the committee?
Move to grant the additional 10 exemptions per year as requested.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion by Nenning to approve 10 requested exemptions for overnight parking. Second by Vanderleest, under discussion.
Would you like to address anything for the balance of 2017?
What do you suggest, Steve?
If he's used up 6, and you're primarily worried about
Christmas break.
Christmas break, what an additional 2 or 3?
Okay.
Want to go 3?
Okay. Let's say 3.
Okay.
Make that part of my motion.
Okay. 10 plus 3?
Well, there will be 3 additional to get through the remainder of
2017.
2017, 10 additional above the normal allotment for 2018, and when we will then correspond back to the petitioner
Okay.
with the information, with what's currently allowed, to give him the total numbers that he will have for both the balance of 17 and all of 18. So we'll get the actual numbers back to him.
Okay. Do we have the, do you want to read back the motion?
So what we have is motion by Alderman Nenning, second by Alderman Vanderleest, for an additional 10 exemptions to the overnight parking for 2018, 3 additional exemptions for overnight parking for 2017. So those parking exemptions are for the property at 1064 Roscoe Street.
Are you good with that, Dave?
Yeah. Fine.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried.
Gentlemen.
Thank you. Moving forward. We are at number 4, consideration possible action on request by Patrick Elderlin to rescind the special collection charge $70 at 430 South Jefferson Street. Director Grenier.
Okay, we have on September 25th, there was material put out to the curb. Hard to tell what it is. It kind of looks like it might be a sofa or something. There is a prior from earlier this summer. Received a request from a Patrick Enderlin indicating that he'd like to contest the invoice for bulky waste. The invoice is for sofa that was picked up on 9/26. Sofa was placed at the curb on the evening of 9/14. This was in conjunction with the annual curbside bulk. He can confirm the sofa was put out in a timely manner as he took the trash cans to the curb himself on 9/14 and saw the sofa there. That would be 2 weeks between when it was put out and when we would have come on a special waste collection to pick it up. Can't tell you from experience, it's pretty rare that our folks go by and let something sit on a curb for 2 weeks, especially immediately following bulk collection week. But because there is a prior there, staff has authority to handle a first offense at a staff level. This is not a first offense, so I did respond back to Mr. Enderlin, indicated that we could not handle it at staff level. He would instead have to come before Improvement Service Committee.
Is Mr. Enderlin here?
Here.
Present?
Move to suspend the rules to hear from interested parties.
Motion to suspend the rules for interested parties by Nenning, second by Vanderleest. Under discussion? Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, the floor is now open. We have Mr. Enderlin that's going to give statements. Anybody else that wants to speak, just raise your hand and I will recognize them. Go ahead, Mr. Enderlin.
Okay, I think Mr. Grenier talked about a first offense. We paid
We had put a couple mattresses out that we paid for. We had no problem with that. They were out at the wrong time. The couch in question was put out on the night of the 14th. Our pickup was on the 15th. Now, on Jefferson, there's not a lot of residential property, so sometimes they might miss us. I took the cans out that night. I can confirm that the couch was out on the 14th. It wasn't picked up for a couple weeks. I have a letter signed by the 2 tenants who lived in the apartment saying that they put it out because they had asked me about it previously. I also have a letter from a Mike Udes who works for me confirming that the couch was put out on the 14th in conjunction with the bulk pickup week. So as far as I'm concerned, we met all the criteria to have it picked up.
Any questions from the committee?
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll make a motion to rescind the fee.
We have to close the floor
Oh,
first.
okay, move to close the floor.
Do you have any questions for the gentleman? Okay, motion by Nenning to close the floor. Second by Mr. Vanderleest. Under discussion here, none. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. The floor is now closed. We're in regular order of business. Dave?
I move to rescind the fee as requested.
Okay, there's a motion to rescind the fee by Nenning, second by
I'll second it.
Vanderleest. Under discussion here, none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, motion carried. It's a recommendation that'll go to the full city council next Tuesday.
Okay. Do I have
At
to
7
meet with them
o'clock.
too, or that just was?
I don't believe so.
Okay, all right.
I don't see how anybody would pull it. If
Okay.
they do, we'll send it back and we'll notify you again,
All right.
but I doubt it.
Thank you.
So, okay, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward. Number 5, consideration of possible action, request by, we just did that one, didn't we? Number 5. Consideration of possible action on the request by Alderman Moore to review our dike inspection policy on a 2018 inspection. Joe?
Hi, thanks. The dike has had some issues over the years that we've done some spot checking on. I know it started with Director Wiesner when he was here, and then when you had first started too, there were certain little areas that needed some repair, needed some inspections done. But now it's, this is year 6 for me, and water levels are up. I think that the trees are rapidly growing through the rocks. I think a lot of the walls have tumbled, and I think that with the Phragmite, a lot of the illumination of the Phragmites out there, I think things are a lot more noticeable with what's collapsed and some of the things that we're having issues with. It is our city's responsibility on the inspection. Director Grenier would have a lot more information about the responsibilities of the actual repair and fixes and general maintenance. So I would ask that you guys would open up the floor here. We do have representatives from the Neighborhood Association, and they represent, I believe, 90 or 91 households along East Shore Drive in that neighborhood and along the base. So if you could open it up, or if Director Grenier, you wanted to add anything first. But.
Well, I guess just one question I would have is this a request to complete a more thorough dike inspection for 2018 with the intent of putting together a list of items that need to be addressed for remedy and then implement that?
That would be the request.
Okay.
That would be the action that I would like taken, but
Okay.
hear from the residents as well. Thanks.
Move to suspend the rules to hear from the district parties.
Okay. Motion by Nenning to open up the floor, second by Vanderleest for interested parties. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. Okay, the floor is now open.
Thank you.
Just,
My name's Ted.
one second.
Excuse me.
just anybody that wants to speak to this, just raise your hand, recognize you, and bring you to the podium. Sir, can you state your name and
My
address for the
name is
record,
Ted
please?
Pappas. I've lived on the bay for over 60 years. And I was back in the beginning of the dike.
So what's your address?
2219 Wisconsin Avenue. Anyway, so they built the dike in 1974 or 5, I believe it is, in that area. I know a lot of people aren't even aware that we have a dike. I just found out when Alderman didn't even know we had a dike. But anyway, it did bust through in 1980, 79 or 80, it did bust through, and a piece of property I owned got flooded. And that was just a minor one 5 years after, so probably everything hadn't settled yet. And as an agreement with the Corps of Engineers, they handed the dike over to the city of Green Bay with the purpose of maintaining and not jeopardizing its integrity by lack of maintenance. And I've had one instance, and I don't know when it was, I can't remember, probably 30 years ago, where they went through and they basically kind of rebuilt the whole dike. Okay, now in front of my place, you can see big boulders half as big as your podium up there that are laying flat on the shore, not anywhere up. And this is indicative of a lot of different places. A lot of people have moved stone for their fire pits, for their walkways. They've misplaced stones and stuff like this. So these should be replaced and some more should be added. The one time they did it, they brought truckloads and truckloads for days and days and days, using one of my street as an access, plus other streets. That's another consideration, is the ease of access on most of these streets. Most of all the state streets plus Dan's Avenue are access to the dike, okay? Many of these over the years with no inspections, nobody monitoring this, a lot of those you can't even get down to the dike. Now, if there were an emergency, for example, I had a couple people drown in front of my house. The ice, and the fire trucks could go out here. They couldn't go down to the next street because they couldn't get through. These streets should be kept open. Now we've got people planting trees on this little parkway to stop the public, which is public access, to stop the public from going out to the dike. That also stops our city trucks from going out there to do improvement, maintenance, inspections. There's not supposed to be any temporary, any permanent structures. Temporary you can have. Anything that can be removed with a 24-hour notice from the city is the only thing that's supposed to be allowed on the deck. We've got people, well, you know it's there. They're there, and I'm sure you guys will be doing an inspection, but I would like this to be a full-blown inspection, monitoring all these street accesses. There's some where people are planting nice little trees, and like I said, some of those that have overgrown over the years. Yeah, and some people put little blockades up and everything there so people can't. I have nice access on mine, and I like people to be able to stop there and take up a walk up to the dike and sit down on my bench and look and get to enjoy what I enjoy every day, that they can enjoy that. And this bay of ours is a great asset for this city. Look at all we're doing at Bay Beach. Okay, and I mentioned that the riprap have shifted and fallen and been moved. And it's all because of weather and gravity, and I think these should all be replaced. And basically, that's pretty much it. Because this dike has to sustain the high water and continued long-term crashing of waves over an extended period of time. And, like in 1980, we had a 2-day storm, and that's when that one portion of the dike broke through. And then they repaired that after I had to clean up all the mud out of the basement, and other neighbors did also. So that's all I have to say. I brought our neighborhood representative along. If she wants to say anything, it'd be up to her. She's our association president. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Trudy Jacobson. I live at 2549 East Shore Drive, and I've lived there for 41 years. Previously, when I was a college student, I lived at the end of Dan's Avenue in a big apartment building. As the neighborhood president, I receive oftentimes in a given year anywhere from between 1 and 5 calls about the dike. And people who are out in front and say, gee, this is, happening. What's, is it going to be repaired? Is it going to whatever? And that's why we brought this, why Ted brought this to the attention of both the city as well as Joe Moore. We said, well, we live there. We've gone from, I've been there 41 years. I used to be able to sit in the front of my house in a screen porch and listen to the waves lap on the dike. When I moved into the house, I could see the high water mark from the flood, which did engulf that whole area back in '74. The bay receded, as we all know. We used to then not hear waves at all. We used to walk about a half mile out on the sand, and look at the water in the far distance and not see any boats moored. any place at that time. Water's back, and I can hear the waves. That's one of my concerns. My other major concern as a neighborhood president for the 180 households along East Shore Drive, I've also corresponded with the neighborhood president from Nicolay Drive because some of their houses are on the East Shore too, and they have concerns about the bay. They're not behind the dike, that's not their concern. But I look at it and say, as we have neighbors who are now starting to move into the houses that are up for sale on the dike, and we supply them, the neighborhood supplies them with an information packet containing information from the city of all kinds. One of the things we want to do is be instrumental with people to say, this is what the city owns. This is what you own. Here are what you should be aware of that you can and cannot do on city property. You know, so please do not build a boathouse on top of the dike that is permanent. Please do not. You know, here are the rules. We would like you to be aware of them and follow them, to be able to enjoy your view, which are paying very good tax money to enjoy, as well as to be conscious of who's responsible for what you know can be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Move to close the floor.
Motion by Nenning to close the floor.
Second.
Second by Vanderleest. Under discussion, here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. We're going to go over to business. Joe, do you have any more comment, input, concerns?
No, I think they pretty well covered it, and I think that our Director Grenier had a pretty good plan. I mean, if we can get a full inspection done and just see the scope of what needs to be completed with it. But you know, another thing that had come up, and I know it's not the actual agenda item, is the accesses, but I think that, you know, that should be something that's...
Well, I think that would be part of the dike inspection.
The actual road accesses?
Yeah, the accesses to it.
Okay, perfect, yeah, if we could add that to it, that would be...
With your permission, Alderman Moore, I think what we would be looking at for a motion would be to direct staff to perform a complete inspection of the dike, prepare a list of maintenance items to be completed, and begin implementing those repairs in 2018. Further, plan for regularly scheduled inspection and maintenance activities in future years.
It's like you had it prepared before the meeting.
Actually, I just wrote it.
It's been a while since I saw the map on this. How far does the dike go?
The dike pretty much starts at,
Mouth of the river?
well, it definitely starts at the mouth of the Fox River and continues out.
Corner, Circle
I don't
Circle.
know if it goes beyond. I'm trying to with
Circle Shore Drive.
Utah?
Utah, Circle Shore.
Circle Shore Drive.
Yeah, I didn't think it went as far out as a university or. God, I'm trying to think of what that park is out there.
Yeah,
University Park.
University.
University.
It's not, it doesn't go that far.
So it's primarily in the residentially developed areas.
I know that, I remember back when the city did maintenance on that, back when Dick Hall was Director of Public Works, and you know, it doesn't sound like we've done much in recent years, so it certainly sounds appropriate to me to take a good look at it. And you know, you never know, if there is some major improvements that are necessary, there may even be grants from the Corps or something to maintain it, because I know they spent millions at the time to create that dike for the protection of the city and its residents. So
You want to entertain a motion, Dave?
I'll make the motion that Steve suggested.
Okay. Motion by Nenning, second by Vanderleest, to have a complete inspection of the dike. Under discussion, hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 6, consideration of possible action on a request by Alderman Worry to consider $15 wheel tax with the following conditions. Only residential assessments eliminated. Intent is to double the amount of road repair / replacement that the city currently plans. Segregate, and number 3, bullet point, segregated fund. Okay. I talked to Alderman Worry today, and basically he cannot be present, so he wants this item to be held up. I don't know who is here to speak upon this, besides some of the aldermen. Is there anybody else? Nobody else is here? Okay. Do you want to make a comment, Dave, or John?
Well, is it all right with the other council members, or would people like to speak to the committee tonight on it? Okay, I guess I'm willing to hear what suggestions people have at this point.
Okay, Randy?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to add is
Then Barb?
I'd like to consider, bumping it up to 20, but on that, I think
I'm sorry?
bumping from 15 to 20.
Okay.
I'd like, if we could consider that, but other than that, I think it's really good, really smart. I support it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Randy?
Not right now, I think that.
Okay. Barb?
I just want to say I've gotten more emails and phone calls in favor of having a wheel tax than I've had in the year and a half that I've been an alderperson. I really would like us not to delay this if it's at all possible. Alder Weary seemed to have wanted this to move forward. Of course, that's up to the committee. Is it possible that he would talk more about it at council if we didn't delay it? I would also have to agree with Randy. If possible, I'd like to see that it go up to 20, but that's something we can talk about on the council floor as well. I would go along with 15 too. We just need a wheel tax. We need the roads to be fixed.
Anything else, Barb?
No, thank you.
Joe?
Since he's asking for $15, but one of the stipulations he has is that would double the work. $15 wouldn't double the work, that would offset the assessments, but there's still a level of bonding that has to be done. So I think that for Chris to come in and be able to actually address that, I don't think we can make a recommendation today until, Director Grenier, we kind of crunched some of the numbers on that and ran through it. I assume you have them with you now, but I don't know if you've had that conversation with Alderman Weary or not.
Well, Alderman Weary has not reached out to discuss this proposal with me at all.
Okay, because doubling the work it'll offset the assessments, but it won't offset the amount that you're bonding. So,
not only
you're still going to be bonding, but there's no way to make it actually double.
Not only will it only offset the assessments associated with the work, again, I've mentioned this multiple times, and this came up during the discussions on the wheel tax originally, starting in October of 2016. The engineering staff in Public Works is taxed to the limit right now, okay? They are pushing as much work as humanly possible out the door, asking them to double their work output just simply is not an option, okay? So we need to also be prepared for additional staff to come on, and I do have costs associated with that. But if
And I think the committee needs to determine if that cost on extra engineering needs to come out of the wheel tax. So I think that Alderman Weary needs to be here so you guys can have that full discussion. And then obviously there's plenty of time between now and the next meeting for us to get some of those questions answered and come to committee with them. But for us at council on Tuesday to get a good solid recommendation from the committee, I think Alderman Weary needs to be here to address what it is he wants to do.
Okay. Anything else, Joe?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, I gotta agree. Without Chris here, we don't have the information that he has coming forward. I got constituents calling me all the time, what it means, what kind of cars. There's just too many questions. And the $15, what is that really gonna cover? You don't have the basics down. And it's just frustrating for me and all the aldermen to try to explain this to people when there's no facts behind it all yet. So Steve is right. If he hasn't been approached, let them get together. You need a complete package before we can present it.
Mark?
Thank you, Chair. So are we talking about delaying this to the next INS meeting, or are we going to talk about this at council?
The request I received from Alderman Worry would be the next INS meeting.
I think I would hope that everybody would have their ducks in a row by that meeting.
I hope so.
I would think so.
Me too.
Let's move forward with that then.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have.
We'll do the best we can.
All right.
Dave?
I just want to say that I think if, with the three of us here, if we were to try to make a motion tonight, it probably would not come to a positive motion for the wheel tax to the council, and so you know, we'd be debating this whole thing. And it is a complex issue because you're dealing with special assessments for residential properties, but you know, our original recommendation was also to reduce the special assessments for other classes. I think we need to talk about that. I think there's also an issue with delaying it because whenever the council approves the wheel tax, there would be a 90-day delay, as I understand it, a 3-month delay before the Department of Transportation would implement it. So that, you know, it doesn't happen right away. So, you know, if you start implementing it 3 months into the year, you're not going to collect as much. So, you know, I think you do have to understand those kind of things. But yeah, I certainly agree with the thing about a segregated fund, and I agree that they're simply at $15, there simply would not be enough there to eliminate all residential special assessments and to double the amount of work. If I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but I think we said that at the $20 level, you could eliminate the residential special assessments, reduce the assessments on other classes of property, and maybe increase by 30% the amount of resurfacing that we did in a year. I don't know if that's what I recall. I don't know if that's entirely right, but in any case,
I think we're in the ballpark.
Okay, but in any case, there are staff issues involved, and you know, when we do rebuild a street, reconstruct a street, there also are special assessments for sewer work, curb and gutter, you know, various other things, sidewalks if it's necessary. So you know, the popularity of reconstructing streets may not be there so much, but certainly resurfacing is an easier thing to do on streets that can benefit from resurfacing. So I'll make a motion to hold it to the next meeting on Alderman Weir's request.
Okay. Motion on the floor to hold to our next meeting, which would be when, Steve?
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today. Okay. There's a second by Alderman Vanderleest. Under discussion.
Just one.
Go ahead, Steve.
A couple of quick items. I know one of the items that's listed in Alderman Weary's proposal and Alderman Nettig addressed is relative to this segregated fund, okay? I just want to be perfectly clear about this. Going back to October of 2016 when we started talking about a wheel tax, the use of a segregated fund for those monies has always been part of the wheel tax discussion. That was inherent in the plan from the first discussion, and the purpose for that was to make sure that those monies could be easily tracked and traced where those revenues were coming in and how they were expended on transportation-related expenses, so that they were never commingled with the rest of our construction money. So, you know, just in my opinion, that's a very critical thing that needs to be stressed. Is it has always been segregated monies. Okay, that's nothing new that's coming out of anybody's proposal. That was nothing new when the mayor introduced this as part of the budget discussion. We do need to start taking a and frankly, I'm glad that this is getting some discussion because, you know, we had this on our agenda for over a year, and obviously I wouldn't have invested this much time if I didn't think it had some merit. As Alderman Nettig did identify, there are a number of things that can be, but I did want to clarify one item that Alderman Nettig brought up. Sewer and water is only assessed in its first installation. So even on a reconstruct street, if we have to repair or replace sanitary storm or water, that is not assessed unless we put a storm sewer in a location where a storm sewer did not exist before. So really it's the level of effort. On a reconstruct street, it's more comprehensive. We're definitely taking all the curb and gutter out. We're correcting major alignment issues, that kind of thing. whereas a resurfacing is confined primarily within the curb and gutter. Okay, so just a couple of things to keep in mind as we're thinking this through and formulating some ideas for discussion in 2 weeks' time.
Okay. Any other concern? Mark?
Thank you, Chair. Steve, I was going to ask, the city right now pays for 2/3 or not?
Alderman
resurfacing.
Sawyer, this comes up at almost every meeting, and every alder wants me to commit to a, well, Steve, it's just an approximate. I have consistently refused to commit to whether it's 1/3 or 2/3 or 40% or whatever, because year by year, that number changes based on the lineal feet of road that we're resurfacing, the lineal feet that we're reconstructing.
Well, with that in
We
mind.
simply can't give you
Okay,
that
well,
ballpark.
that's fine. But with that in mind, then we would have figures on a yearly basis of what we have
Mhm.
spent on that.
Absolutely.
And that'd be something, I know you may have sent that out, but I would like to see something to that effect, if we could look at that. If you could send it out to the alders, I would appreciate that.
What I would ask is what I've been asking all along. If you have specific questions, try to make them as detailed as
All right.
possible so
I'll
I
send
get you
it-
the
I'll
correct
send it to you.
information.
I'll send it.
And just send me an email. I'm more than happy to get that stuff pulled together and sent off to you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other concerns or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, number 7, consideration of possible action on request by Alderman Zima that the city consider providing an opening on the east and west sides of West Mason Street Bridge to allow the possibility of a turnaround for traffic when the bridge is up for an extended period of time to the openings of Main Street. Okay, I don't see Mr. Zima here, so I'll entertain a motion to hold until he is
Yep.
present.
Mr. Chair, if I could just ask Steve a couple questions?
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll make them quick. With that bridge, the divider, is there a space between those dividers, like on the Leo Frigo, and I believe there's Schwabman Bridge as well, I-72?
Are there separate structures for eastbound and
Yep.
westbound? No.
So it is solid surface all the way through?
Correct.
Okay. And do we have any kind of figures about how, I mean, the other 2 bridges, this is off Walnut and Mainichki, they have to open more often than the Don Tillman, right? Because they open for more boat traffic because they're lower. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. And then plus also there's the tracks right on the west side, which backs up traffic onto the bridge, where the Don Tillman Bridge does not have to deal with, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the congestion on those 2 bridges would not be comparable with the Don Tillman?
I think all 3 of our bridges are unique individuals.
Okay.
So I try not to draw much in the way of inference from one bridge to another anyway.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if we've shared this with all of the alders, but we do have a correspondence from the Systems Planning and Operations Chief for the Northeast Region, Wistat and Green Bay,
Okay.
with Wistat's comments regarding such a proposal, and I'd be more than happy to send that out to
Oh,
all
please.
12 of the alders
Please.
in anticipation of having a discussion at our next meeting.
Okay, yep, that,
So Jim and I will make a note of that, and we'll make sure we get a copy of that email off to everybody.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Any other questions, concerns? If not, I'm requesting to hold this to our next meeting.
Second.
Motion by Nenning, second by Vanderleest, under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 8, consideration of possible action on request by Tycor Built LLC to enter in a developer's agreement for construction of public infrastructure to support Pine Acres Estates subdivision using option 1. Director Grenier.
Okay, so that's this one?
Yep.
All right, we provided a copy of a plat to you. As we have done successfully on multiple occasions, what we have listed in the agenda was option 1. We're actually looking at option 3, which is the developer build option, where we executed a developer's agreement with the developer, obligating the developer to meet certain conditions, design to city standards, They hire a consultant. Consultant designs the public infrastructure, which would include sanitary, storm, water, and pavement, and any sidewalk that would be required. Their consultant does a design. That design is turned into city staff, reviewed and approved. Then it's constructed by a contractor of their choosing, with city staff providing construction inspection services. After completion, the developer has the opportunity to come in and request to dedicate that infrastructure over to the public. Upon acceptance of dedication by the common council, that road and all the other public infrastructure becomes public. Again, we've done this successfully in the past on a number of occasions, so staff would recommend that the committee authorize DPW to enter into an agreement, a developer's agreement with Tycor Built LLC for a developer's agreement for Pine Acres Estates subdivision, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement contingent upon the developer receiving all required city approval.
So move.
Okay, a motion by Nenning to approve the agreement, to entertain into the agreement. Second by Vanderleest. Under discussion, here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 9, consideration possible action, request by Apple Tree LLC to dedicate to the city of Green Bay the infrastructure improvements in Preserve 3 subdivision. Director Grenier.
Okay, this is one of those such agreements. Apple Tree LLC has worked on part of the old Baird Creek Preserve subdivision out on Huron Road. They are now in their 3rd phase, and actually Preserve 3 provides the infrastructure for both 3rd and 4th phases. I see my assistant city attorney is, or assistant city engineer is sitting in the back, so I'm going to also look to Kristen for some feedback. What has been constructed is the extension of Raccoonberry Way from Indigo Bluff to Bedford Road, the extension of Bedford Road from Peppergrass Drive to Whittier Drive, and all associated sanitary, storm, and water infrastructure underneath those roads. This one's a little unique. It's not as straightforward as I had liked. There are some punch list items that are outstanding. I think those items can be addressed utilizing the information that, or the language that's included in the developer's agreement. So at this point, I guess what we would be recommending would be conditional acceptance of dedication, and those conditions would be, the condition would be that the outstanding items on the punch list are resolved to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Works. I would be more than happy to be in touch with any one of you prior to the council meeting next Tuesday, and if we have not come to terms, we could always get in touch with one of you to have it pulled, and we could hold it for 2 weeks at that time. Otherwise, I would also have no problem with a request to, and I know the folks from Apple Tree are here, so they're going to want to speak. We're going to allow them to do that. From the city's perspective, I would also have no problem with holding this up for 2 weeks to try to get some of these things hammered out and finished, so we have a cleaner approval.
I move to suspend the rules to hear from interested parties.
Motion by Nenning to suspend the rules for interested parties. Second by Vanderleest. Under discussion, here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. The floor is now open. Just raise your hand. I'll recognize you. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jason Murrows. I'm president of Apple Tree. My address is in Neenah, 1359 Hedgerow Drive. Our corporate office is here in Green Bay, 3410 Indigo Bluff Drive. We have worked with the city to try and stay in front of this project more diligently, and spent more time and effort than we ever have to keep a project on track. Unfortunately, it's taken dramatically longer than we expected, and we pushed hard right down to the wire to get the road paved in time so that we could make this meeting. We have a number of home buyers that expected to be in their homes already this year. The process taking considerably longer than we expected has been extremely painful for us as a company, and also not what they expected. It's just taken longer. Without getting into the details, it's taken much longer than we expected. So we tried very hard, and right at the very end, we had a decision of do we try and open up the road base and then make a couple of the corrections that the city has asked for and still try and get it paved, but there wasn't time in order to do that and still have the opportunity to pave so that we could make all the deadlines that were necessary for this meeting. So I was left with the unfortunate decision that with feedback from the Department of Public Works that we should, our best available option was to go ahead and pave, agree to a timeline and the punch list, and then go ahead and make those corrections within the timeline that's been discussed. I would ask that the committee keep this moving forward as pushing it out further. Director Grenier talked about having it be cleaner. I'm not certain that that's the case. We've addressed as much as we can the items that are remaining this year. The items that are remaining will continue to work on there from, I think by all accounts, pretty minor, the things that we can address yet this year. There are like some establishing some erosion control, vegetation matting and so forth. They wanted additional staples put in the ground, or the way that it was installed modified in some way. Those are things that can be done. A couple of weeks makes a big deal for my company and the 15 people that have written offers and expect to be moving forward with their homes. It makes a huge deal. Like I said, we expected to be building homes in June. We're not. It's a pretty big deal. So we ask that you keep the process moving. We've been working, I have, and Arthur, our construction manager, have been working with city staff to resolve all the questions and produce everything they've asked for.
Any questions, concerns?
Mr. Grenier, one question for you. Do you feel that these things would be accomplished if we give them the go-ahead tonight?
I have no doubt that they do, because at the end of the day, I've got the language in the developer's agreement to go back to.
Okay, then I would recommend that we give them the move forward then at this time. That'd be my recommendation.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion by Nenning to close the floor, second by Vanderleest. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, we're regular order business. What are the wishes of the committee?
My proposal would be this: let them move forward at this time, and they'll come into compliance with the Department of Public Works.
Okay, motion by Vanderleest to move forward. Is it an agreement?
This would be to accept dedication of the public infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Really what Steve read as the recommended motion is what we're talking.
The conditional approval?
Conditional approval, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I have no problem with that, and thank you for all your work there.
I need a second before we
I'll second.
Okay, second by Nenning. Alderman Nenning, you have the floor.
Yeah,
we're under discussion.
I want to thank you for all the work that you've done there. It looks like it's a terrific development, and I know there are challenges in these type of things, and whatever we can do to expedite it, I'll certainly agree with this motion.
Okay, any other concerns or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 11, consideration possible action on approval of the following plat of a right-of-way, North Webster Avenue from University to Radisson, project ID 4987-02-64 revised. Director Grenier.
Oh, we're on the plat?
Yeah, you skipped 10.
Okay, we can come back to 10, that's no problem.
Me bad.
No, that's absolutely fine. There's a lot of stuff on the agenda, I get it. Again, we're talking about North Webster Avenue. We have adopted and approved the official plat of right-of-way for that project, but as additional items pop up, sometimes it's a temporary limited easement for grading purposes, sometimes there's an acquisition of a property, so the property owner has changed. Things of that nature which require us to update those, that plat. So what we have in front of you tonight is an updated or revised plat. And I think what we've done now is we have tied down more concretely where the limits of construction are going to adversely impact properties, and whether those are fee acquisitions where we're actually paying somebody and we're getting the right of way from them, or what's referred to as a temporary limited easement where we're going to go onto the property for a short period of time during construction, restore that property once we're done, and for the inconvenience of adversely impacting the property, there is a nominal fee that goes back to that property owner. So again, it's just a revision of the previously approved plat that reflects changes to the design that are constantly ongoing up until we have a final design. So we do recommend approval of the plat.
Okay. Any questions or concerns from the committee? Alderman Dwayne.
Yeah, is that the North Webster project?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the Webster from University Avenue to Radisson project.
Okay, I was going to call Joe on this along here. I'll ask you. West on Reber from Webster, there's still 3 houses there. My brother's in one of them. He's always asking what's happening. Is that part of the city project, or is that Procter & Gamble?
West of, between...
It's on Reber.
It's on Reber between Webster and Quincy. That would not, if he's right directly off...
He's along the fence line. He's right next to the fence of the old Pranny Way or whatever that is.
Okay, so he's further down.
Straggler houses.
Yeah, straggler houses.
Yeah.
No, that's not part of this project. We will come off of Webster 50 to 70 feet onto the adjacent side streets for the tie-in purposes, but that's about it.
He's looking at staying there, so he
wants
to make sure all of a sudden they're not... Yeah.
No, if he winds up with any questions, by all means, have him give me a call.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, have him give me a call.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Denning, second by Vanderleest. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor.
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 10, consideration of possible action on review and award the contract sewer 7-17, Director Grenier.
7-17 is a contract for a storm lift station on Mather Street. Mather is being reconstructed next year under a WISTOC contract. We did the sanitary work this year. Storm is part of the DOT contract, and again, just a quick reminder for everybody. As that storm flows west down Mather Street as it comes together at the intersection of Mather and Gray, in order to get that storm buried deep enough so it wouldn't hump out of the ground, which it's currently doing, the storm on Mather is actually going to be lower than the storm on Gray. And that doesn't work so well for gravity, so we have to put a lift station in to pump that water out of the Mather Street storm sewer into the Gray Street storm sewer. Received 5 bids yesterday. Very, very competitive bidding environment. You see Advanced Construction was a low responsive bidder at a estimated cost of $267,959.04. Staff was extremely happy with those numbers and recommends approval to the low responsive bidder in that amount.
Move to approve.
Motion by Denning to approve the lower bidder, Advanced Construction. Is there a second?
Second.
Vanderleest. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 12, consideration possible action on application for an underground sprinkler system license by Wolfaz Landscaping LLC. Director Grenier.
They've held a license in the past, and we do recommend approving them for a license again.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
By Vanderleest, second by Nenning to approve. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. It's 13, consideration of possible action on the sidewalk ordered at 514 14th Avenue. Director Grenier.
Okay, we had a scrivener's error earlier in the year. There were no complaints, inspections, or repairs performed at 514 14th. The address that was sent into us was actually misrepresented. It was at 518. However, we did adopt by resolution to order sidewalk repairs at 514. The work at 518, although it didn't appear on the sidewalk orders, was reported to staff and corrected this year. So no additional work needs to be done relative to the 518 address. Everything is taken care of there. But we have some outstanding orders by resolution at 514 that never should have gone through in the first place. So what we are requesting is to receive and place on file the sidewalk orders for 514 14th Avenue as a scrivener's error, so we can clear that order off the books.
So moved.
Motion by Nenning, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Director's report on recent activities of the Public Works Department. Director Kinnear.
We will keep this one very, very short. As you all know, we have been frantically getting the fleet converted from summer to winter activities. So far, we have been lucky with mild weather continuing to keep us going through November and on into early December. But based on what I'm seeing on the two-week forecasts and weather systems developing out over the Pacific and through northwestern Canada, I don't anticipate this is going to be happening for much longer. So we are in winter mode officially. However, with the late leaf drop, as many pieces of equipment as we can continue to be out picking leaves. And what I have told any alder who's called, Alderman Dwayne will attest to this because we just had this conversation yesterday. We are out collecting leaves. However, I cannot guarantee that we will continue to do that, not even on a day-by-day basis. It is 100% weather, staff, and truck availability dependent. So as long as we can be out, we'll pick up those straggler piles that are out there. I would not suggest somebody start raking their lawn this weekend and anticipate that we're going to come get it, because the weather could change, and the minute it does, that equipment has to come off and we need to be in full snow fighting. So we have completed I believe eight rounds citywide. So we did pick a lot of leaves, and if you're to go out to either the east side or west side yardway sites and you take a look at the piles we got out there, the piles are substantial. We did collect a lot of stuff. I know there's a lot out there, and staff is doing a real good job about banging away at it. But again, because of the weather, I simply can't guarantee that we're going to have staff or vehicles available. We'll do the best we can, and we'll keep picking as long as we can. But officially, the leaf collection's over. And, De Pere, a week or so ago, De Pere put a public notice out and just said, we made our rounds, we're done, you're cut off. So, we are doing the best we can to try to accommodate.
I think people are very enthusiastic that they've seen these out there quite a bit on the west side. So I say thumbs up on what you're doing there.
Yeah, I think the residents appreciative of what you've been able to do beyond the deadline.
Alderman Dwayne.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Dave, you've never prayed. It's really nice because you're loaded. The district is loaded.
Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Diane to adjourn, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, nays, motion carried. We're adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. Hey, next meeting, can you call me?
Yeah.
Somebody gotta look at my schedule.